Elite Facts presents
10 greatest April Fool's pranks of all time.
10.
Taco Bell's prank. Taco Bell made an announcement in 6 of the most popular American newspapers claiming to have bought the Liberty Bell, one of the most well-known symbols of independence in the United States. They paid for a full-page advertisement explaining that the purchase was made in an attempt to aid the national debt. They said that they were changing the name of the bell to the Taco Liberty Bell, but that it would remain available for viewing by the public. They also called for other brands to follow their lead in buying up the historical symbols of their country in order to help with the debt problem. There were many furious people, and Taco Bell was forced to reveal that they were playing a joke for April Fool's Day in order to quell the stream of complaints.
9.
Orange trees? What could be done with the surplus oranges from San Bernardino's National Orange Show? Frank Adams had an idea. The cartoonist rallied together 25 friends, and they worked through the night to hang up 50,000 oranges in the pine trees along the rim of the world's scenic highway. For a distance of a mile, it looked as though the trees had started growing oranges on them. When did all this happen? On the 1st of April, of course.
8.
NPR's prank. When NPR put up an article on Facebook asking readers to click on a link, the comments section was inundated. This only showed that they hadn't read the instructions, though. The post appeared on April 1st, and people who genuinely read it and then clicked on the link were directed to a message congratulating them on being proper readers. They were then told to like the post without commenting on it. So everyone who really did read the post by NPR became part of the joke too.
7.
End of the world. The end of the world is no new topic, with prophecies about the forthcoming apocalypse being well documented ever since the very beginning of civilization. But people get awfully worked up about these predictions. When a Philadelphia radio station announced that the world would end at 3 o'clock the following afternoon, people believed what they had been told. The announcement was made on the 31st of March, 1940, and it expressly said that it was not a prank for April 1st. They claimed that scientists from the Franklin Institute had confirmed the end of the world and even predicted the exact time. The radio station invited people to speak to the director of the Fells Planetarium if they wanted confirmation. The public responded with panic, and the media was overwhelmed with calls from people who were beside themselves with fear. An investigation ensued, and it was found that the person behind the prank was a William Castellini, acting as the press agent for the Franklin Institute. He had set about the prank as a way of getting people to come to the planetarium, specifically in support of a lecture that was coming up. He lost his job over the prank.
6.
Election prank. Laws and resolutions are passed by official legislators who have been appointed via election at federal and state levels. It's a pretty important job, so you'd think they'd check over what they're passing before they actually make the announcement. Not so much this Texas House of Representatives legislator, who announced on the 1st of April, 1971, that none other than the Boston Strangler was to receive a commendation. Tim Moore explained that Albert DeSalvo, aka the Boston Strangler, had not only employed innovative techniques in population control, but was to be noted for his work in applied psychology, as well as praised for giving people fresh concerns for their futures.
5.
BBC prank. In the mid-1970s, the British astronomer Patrick Moore joined forces with BBC Radio 2 to trick listeners. They informed the British public that an extremely unusual planetary occurrence was to take place that very day, which would see Pluto move behind Jupiter when viewed from Earth. Moore explained that this happening would affect the gravitational pull. He went on to further explain that this would have a knock-on effect, which meant that should listeners of the radio program jump at the right moment, then they would experience something akin to zero gravity. He stayed on air to count down to the supposed astronomical happening, and at exactly 9:47 a.m., he instructed his listeners to jump into the air. A number of people contacted Moore live on the air to tell him what had happened when they followed his instructions, with one lady saying she had started to float about her living room, and another saying he deserved to be compensated because when he jumped just as Moore had instructed him to do, he went so high that he'd hit the ceiling. What the listeners didn't realize was that it was the 1st of April and that they'd just been had.
4.
Baseball fastball prank. When George Plimpton was given artistic license by the managing editor of Sports Illustrated, he created a pitcher who had batters quivering in their shoes and caused quite a stir in the baseball world. In a profile published on the 1st of April, 1985, Sid Finch was said to be able to throw a pitch at 168 miles per hour. He was also said to aspire to be a monk, had lost his parents as a child, grew up in England, and had attended Harvard but quit before he completed his courses. He was an accomplished young man nonetheless, said to be able to speak 10 different languages, as well as play the French horn. Randomly, he was also said to wear only one hiking boot. Major league managers piped up after reading the article, claiming that it would be dangerous for a batter to face Finch. Newspaper editors questioned why Sports Illustrated had been given the exclusive, and reporters went in search of Sid Finch, with one radio talk show host claiming to have seen him. Of course, he hadn't, as lucky for batters everywhere, this pitcher was a complete fabrication made up by a writer who had made the most of his opportunity to play an April Fool's Day prank.
3,
Classroom prank. Tired of trying to compete with mobile technology while teaching his classes, Stephen Barrows, a professor at Aquinas College, decided to introduce a new rule in 2014. Anytime a phone rang in class, it had to be answered on speakerphone. A good idea in essence, but one student decided to get the better of him. Taylor Nefsey followed the rules and answered her phone on speakerphone when it rang in class. The voice coming through the phone informed Taylor that her test results were ready and that they were positive. She was expecting a baby. The teacher was mortified that he'd caused his student embarrassment by forcing her to share her private information with the whole class. Taylor insisted that the news was no surprise, though, and that she had already chosen a name for her baby: April Fools.
2,
Swedish color TV prank. In 1960s Sweden, people didn't have a lot of choice when it came to what to watch on TV. In fact, they had no choice. The only TV channel was black and white until Kjell Stenson, the TV station's technical expert, announced that he would reveal to the audience how they could watch the TV in color without changing their black and white TV set. He claimed that simply putting a pair of cut-open tights over the screen would alter the way that the light would bend, and previously black and white images would then appear in color. Thousands of people fell for the prank, and people still remember their dads cutting up their mom's tights to put them over the TV screen. It was actually April Fool's Day when color broadcasting really did come to Sweden, but it wasn't until 1970.
1,
Loch Ness monster prank. When global news headlines reported that the carcass of the Loch Ness monster had been seen floating in the waters of Loch Ness, people believed that Nessie's existence had finally been proven. The news broke on the 1st of April, 1972. The body was found by a group of zoologists from Flamingo Park, a zoo in Yorkshire. At the time of their discovery, they were actually looking for the Loch Ness monster. They reported that the carcass weighed 1.5 tons and measured over 15 feet long. So the myth of Nessie was true all along? Well, apparently not. The body was examined and found to be that of a male elephant seal. John Shields, Flamingo Park's education officer, had planted the carcass as a prank. The seal had died of natural causes a week prior to April Fool's Day, and John couldn't resist. He removed the seal's whiskers and filled its mouth with stones in order to bulk its cheeks out. He also froze the body to keep it from decomposing before he needed it. After he'd admitted that it was all a prank, the seal's body was taken back to Flamingo Park and displayed for visitors for a couple of days, after which it was disposed of in the correct manner.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.